Perfect.
Perfect.
Here we are. We did it. We made it.
Yeah.
We are good to go, everybody. Thank you so much for everyone who's here today or who's watching this later. My name's Gabrielle. I'm the admin of this group. You can read more about me if you don't know who I am, but today, really, the spotlight is on Kari. And Kari is a really amazing therapist entrepreneur. I'm excited for her to chat with us today because not only has she turned something into an additional income stream, but it's something that a lot of people have questions about. So she runs dearcarrie.com where she does coaching and consulting and training all about simple practice, which is extremely helpful. And I'm excited for her to be here today. If you're watching the replay, make sure you put hashtag replay so that we get notified and we can come back and answer your questions. And otherwise, put any questions that you have in the chat and we will get to them and we'll get started. And I just wanted to start, Kari, if you would just kind of share a little bit about your story and how dearcarrie.com came about. Like, how did you start shifting and adding in this other service?
Yeah. So I've been a therapist since, I always forget, 2006. I don't know, a long time ago. Work with couples mostly. Liked it, but, and I still like it and I still work with couples, but I don't know, for people who work with couples, maybe you could understand why a full caseload of couples might not be the best thing ever for our own mental health. So,
Yeah.
but I wasn't actually looking for an income stream. Really, I mean, the idea is always intriguing, right? I think as therapists, what we always like the idea of having more balance and stuff like that. So it was an open-ended sort of thing. But I think it was, I always mean to go look if it was 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. EHRs had been around for a long time in the medical field, but they were starting to be more common in the mental health field. So a few players popped out. It was Simple Practice, Therapy Notes, and Theranest were kind of the big three at the time. And I remember getting super excited about, because I'm kind of like an organizational nerd and I love automations and I'm actually kind of lazy, which has been the mother of invention for me. How can I make this easier? How can I automate? How can I do less work? So got super excited about that and actually had an opportunity to go out to Santa Monica and meet Howard Specter, who started Simple Practice. I picked Simple Practice out of the three and then got to go out and meet him. He was super cool. He was a therapist too, met all these other therapists who were kind of like simple practice nerds and stuff. So I just got into it really early. And what I tell people is simple practice actually used to be simple. It really literally was simple. It did almost nothing. But it did what we needed it to do. It was really great and it was helpful. And I still remember the day I shredded all my paper files. It was so fun. I mean, I scanned them and then I shredded them. But that felt amazing. And so I was in with Simple Practice pretty early on, is kind of how that worked out. And then, as you can imagine, and we all start asking for stuff. Well, can it do this? Well, what about my situation's different? I need it to do this special thing. And so as any good software company will do, they're going to listen to their base and they're going to add features, right? They understand some people are groups, some people are solo, some people are self-pay, some people are insurance, and so on and so forth. And it started to become the monster that it is today. um, so in the meantime, because I got started early, I understood what it was doing. It was very simple. So every new addition, it was very easy for me to learn because I'm learning one little piece.
Mhm.
So I really felt very comfortable in the system. And then I was running into therapist friends who were, what EHR should I use? Oh, I'm using Simple Practice. Will you help me get it set up? Or it's doing something weird and I don't understand. And so this was something that I knew what it was doing. They didn't know because they're new to it, right? So there's a bit of a learning curve with it. And so I just really enjoyed helping people with it. So that's kind of how it started. Was, hey, my friend or my colleague or whatever needs help too. Can you help them? So that's what I did.
I
So
love
yeah,
it.
in some ways, it's I feel kind of sad because simple practice isn't super easy anymore. It's not very aptly named anymore in some ways. In other ways, what they've done, which is really a nice thing, at least on the clinical side, especially, is they've put a pretty package on everything. And a lot of us therapists are kind of, we're not big into spreadsheets. We're not big into the financial stuff, things that look like QuickBooks, stuff like that is, it can be very intimidating. So they put this really nice wrapper on everything. And so you get there and you're like, oh, this is going to be so easy. But they hide things behind stuff so we don't see them. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
wizard behind the there's more stuff going on. And so I have a lot of empathy for people coming in who just want it to be simple. It looks like it's going to be simple. It's named Simple Practice. And so I just step in for people who are just getting started with an EHR completely, which is, there are still people out there who are doing paper. For people who have gotten into it and they're like, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And then for people who are like, I know I didn't do the right thing, something's wrong, something's messed up, I need help cleaning that up. So in general, that's what I do. There are more items to that, but
I'm going to ask you more about those, but I
yeah.
just think that's so amazing. And it's a good reminder too, because as you were just explaining all of that, I was thinking when I started with Simple Practice, I was also using paper, and this was in like 2017 and 2018. And I just didn't know like what I didn't know. And so then somebody was talking to me like you should use an EHR, and then I was going to hire somebody, so I really needed to use an EHR. And I remember how overwhelmed I was because I had never used anything like that before. Even though I had worked in child protective systems where we had like the most antiquated of systems ever, but it was like, I don't know how to use it. Like, what do all these things mean? Do I need them? So it's always good reflection because as my group grew and we used more and more stuff of Simple Practice, I got to learn it a little bit better, but I feel like I still don't know as much as you. That is for sure. So, what are some things that you think are really helpful tools in Simple Practice or like reports or ways to use it that a lot of therapists miss out on or don't use?
Oh, probably the biggest thing I run into is not utilizing the reports. And instead, they kind of stumble into problems or they rely on the reminders to pop up, which isn't that that's not useful. But when we're thinking about time management, one of the things that I encourage people to do is like a monthly audit. Is also something that I do for people and I teach people how to do. But rather than run around looking for problems, let's wait until the day where we put everything in a list and we find what sorts of issues do we have and then prioritize them and then do them in order of priority so that we're utilizing our time really well. I think a lot of times what I run into are people are kind of reactive in Simple Practice. Oh no, there's a red bar. Oh no, there's a yellow thing. Oh no, there's an upside down triangle. There's something that's, and that's an okay thing too. Of course, they're meant to get our attention, but I think there's a way to be a little bit more targeted about it. Let's not look at it until this amount of time has passed, 30 to 45 days, then put it all together and go, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
That's probably the reports I think are entirely underutilized. And I will say, I might say a few things about Simple Practice that I don't like. One of them is the reports aren't totally adequate, and I really wish they would update them. So that I might not say too many more bad things, but I have a wish list. I have a wish list that I think is important.
That's actually a really good one because I think, again, like it kind of depends on your needs. But I know when I went to sell my practice, they were asking me for a lot of very specific reports that Simple Practice could not do. Like, for
Mhm.
example, they wanted to know how many sessions we had in a year and how many of them were like 90837 and how many were 90834. And they might have that now, but in 2021, they did not. And we
They
figured
still
it out. Okay. Because I was like, I had to like go, it was a huge nightmare of how we had to do this in a very
yeah.
time slot. And that's pretty basic. Like, you just want to know how much did I work last year? It's important.
Right. Maybe we don't want to know, but sometimes we
Yeah.
need to know.
Yeah, we probably don't want to, but we need to for
We
our own
need to.
safety.
Yeah, there was talk for a while that they were going to make more robust reports and give us things like retention and, all this other stuff. And we haven't seen it yet, but fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, I hope they do because that will be really helpful. I mean, the reports they have, though, are still really good, and I think they are underutilized. Like a lot of people that I just see on social media or who are doing consulting with me, like, don't know about like the aging claims reports or things like that that can really just make your life a lot easier and not have you going through like down a rabbit hole and wasting time.
hmm I would say that and paired with reconciliation. You know,
Yeah.
did we get the money that it says we have in here? And that's a great way also to catch things. And that's not in simple practice. There is no reconciliation. That's why we can't use it as an accounting platform. But we can certainly use it to help us reconcile. And if everything's agreeing, guess what? December 31st, when it's time to start thinking about taxes, you're going to be like, easy. Wait for my little 1099s and send them off to my
Yeah,
tax preparer, and we're done.
exactly.
Yeah.
Any other features that you think are underutilized or that you really love that you find like most helpful?
Um, I run into people who are kind of resistant to use Stripe, and I
Mm,
understand because it isn't cheap,
yeah.
but the amount of uh, the level of automation and the amount of work that takes off your plate to have it all integrated, to be able to set up auto pay, to not have to think about double entry. I'm over here doing IV pay, or I'm over here doing whatever. Now I have to put this in and not make a mistake and not forget to do it. And I think that's a big one. And even auto pay, people are scared of auto pay because it used to just like indiscriminately just charge cards. Oh, balance charge.
Yeah.
And now, if it's different from what the copay says, it will stop and it will pause and it will say, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this? You need to turn auto pay back on after you review it." So there's some fail safes in there.
Mm,
So it's automations like that that I think, here we are trying to save a buck, and I get it, and I totally respect that. But we also look at how many hours are you spending inputting payments and then fixing problems and things like that too. And then what have we saved versus, all right, I spent this money. And so my best advice is don't look at the number at the end of the year. I don't. I have no idea what I spent last year. I'm not going to look. I have no interest in it. I'll cut
I
costs anywhere else, not there.
It's going to be there no matter what. And I use Stripe now, like for my consulting business. And I'm like, I mean, what can you do? People need to pay with a credit card. Like it's just a cost of doing business. But you're speaking my language because I am very big on delegating and streamlining things and for your own sanity, because that really does take up a lot of time. If it takes
Mhm.
you even if it's just 20 minutes a day where you're doing Ivy Pay and then you got to put it in here, that's still a lot of hours in the week that you could be doing something else. And again, if anybody's watching this or listening and you're thinking about selling, you don't want to have too many systems that you're paying for. You want things to be really streamlined. So you want to, whatever works for you. But I always say, like, if you're using Simple Practice or you're using your EHR, like, use it for everything. Use it for your telehealth, like all of that stuff. Just, you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. So I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's important. Okay, what else? Do we miss anything else about simple practice that you think is important for people to know, or your services that is important for people to know?
The I think the most important thing, like in relation to simple practice in my services, is the people that I talk to are often like, I feel like I should know this. I'm embarrassed that I have this mess. I'm, sorry you have to see that, I wouldn't want anyone to ever, I mean, people feel how they feel. That's okay. But this is not a simple system. It is not. And we don't, as therapists, we are not totally equipped to think the way simple practice does. And so it is so understandable to have struggles here and there as we're learning. And then you throw in like learning insurance, which is like this whole other beast that we will not go into. But one of the things that I do when I help people is I try to bridge the gap between the two, because if you're having an issue with simple practice, a lot of times that is also related to an issue with insurance.
Mhm.
And simple practice can't help you unless it's a rejection or a scrub. They once it's a denial, they don't know. They won't want to answer anything. Well, who helps you then? Next, right? You call insurance and they're like, I don't know anything about your EHR. I don't know why it says that.
Mhm.
So I kind of pop in there in the middle and just try to fill in some knowledge gaps until people feel safe and confident and good. But I think we're dealing with people's, I mean, mental health for sure, but we're dealing with people's money and our money. And there's a lot of anxiety attached to that. And I don't know that people, I think, are really aware of like, no, this is important. And it is why you feel this way. And it is okay to ask for help. And I'm not ever going to think anything bad about that. You know, I just want you to feel better, So that's
Good.
what I'm here for.
And that's why we need you. And this is, I don't know, I love stories like this because you learned a skill that was needed for yourself, but then there was a gap or a void in the market for something like this. And then you were able to shift and use that as a different way to work and a different way to make money, which is amazing. And everybody in this group, if you don't know, like I'm all about alternate and additional income streams. And I just love when I hear stories like this again, where it just kind of happened organically and you're still able to help people in a different way. But how much time do you think now is simple practice consulting and how much is your therapy practice?
Last year was the first year that the consulting was a little bit more than the therapy. Yeah. And not that that's necessarily a goal, but I feel like it was a lot of years where it was mostly therapy and this was kind of added in. And
Yeah.
now it feels like I do both very almost half and half.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm going to keep letting it shift or not. I'm a little older. And so I'm thinking about my exit strategy at some point, and I could see myself maybe shifting mostly to the consulting piece
Yeah.
at some point, but not probably full time either.
I love that though. And you're so good at it. And again, it's just so very, very much needed. And again, I just love when life works out that way that you're able to take a little bit less couples that you're working with and do a little bit more simple practice consulting, which I think I wouldn't say it's easier, but that's how I feel about consulting is it like it has a beginning and an end and it's a little bit more clearly defined. So it's
You don't
something.
have to do notes. There's no
Yes.
there's no notes. Yeah, exactly. But there's still, I mean, probably with most of the income streams, if you're running your own business and you have relationships with in my case, therapists are my clients. There's still some psychotherapy involved. Like I said, people come to me and they feel ashamed or they feel anxious or and I spend a lot of time just trying to reassure people that it's okay that you feel that way. And also, we're going to take care of this and it's going to be all right. And until you feel good, I will feel good. And then we'll feel good together at some point and this will all be good. So I'm still using a lot of that part, I think. And also, I just want to say too that therapists are amazing. I love working with therapists. I wouldn't have necessarily thought that that I would have that feeling, figuring they're just like any other people, any other type of person. But therapists, everyone I've ever worked with is so wonderful and amazing and kind. And then I sometimes make great friendships and connections or resource for something that they have that I don't have. Hey, can I send you some clients? Or so it's a really cool network to work with.
That's amazing. And I love that too because I think I see that a lot as well, and not just with like with different consulting and with different like service providers. Like I know people will come to me and they'll say like, I worked with this accountant or I worked with this other consultant in a different field, and they just are like, they don't get it. And there's like no warm vibe, there's no like
Mhm.
relational piece. And so that's another way
Mhm.
that therapists can use their skills when they're doing consulting and coaching.
Yes.
Watching this. Remember.
And can't. That's a great point. And I have run into people who have gotten help and haven't been treated well. And part of the problem is because therapists go into it typically trusting and
Yeah.
assuming that everybody, not, I mean, we're realistic, but like this person wants to help me. So they're there for me and have gotten ripped off or treated terribly. And it just breaks my heart to see that because we need to be treated well. We're I don't know, sensitive isn't the right word, but we're in our heart, we're in our feelings a lot, and that can make us vulnerable as therapists. And I've been there too. This is all of us, I think.
Yes, me too. I love that. You have such a great way of working with people, and again, such a great niche and thing that you do that is super helpful. Where can people find you and how can they work with you? And I know you talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but tell us, what people could expect from you. Like, do you do it yourself? Do you help people do it? Do you do both?
The answer is yes to all of that. So if you go on my website, dearcarrie.com, it gives a couple of options. One is to do a discovery meeting with me. We can talk, just make sure, as therapists, I think we're all about fit, right? So do you even want to work with me? Is there something about me that annoys you? I don't know. It can be anything. Do I know anything about your particular issue? So that's one way to do it. I did add recently a jump start because some people are like, don't care, want to get going.
Hmm.
Okay, I respect that. Let's do it. So that's another button that you can click on there. And then the other thing that I offer is an audit service, and it's $60. You can sign up for one audit. I've got people who do a subscription where every month or every quarter or whatever, they get an audit. It's a spreadsheet. I know spreadsheets, but that's where I take these reports, put everything together. I tag everything. This is what I think needs to be done. It helps you organize your to-do list. If there are things you want me to do, I'm open to helping with some cleanup and stuff like that. But we work together on what the to-do list looks like, who's going to do it. So those are the couple of things. And then I'm super clear when I meet with people or when we talk that I will never gatekeep information. I will teach you how to do your own audit. I will teach you everything I know if you want. And I've got people who are like, teach me all the things. And then I have other people who are like, do not teach me anything, just do it.
That's fair.
Also, fully respect. They want to do something else, that's fine. So anywhere in that um, continuum, I'm 100% comfortable. As long as you're happy, I'm happy.
Do you build templates for people? Like note templates? Okay.
Yeah. It's fussy, right? It's kind of annoying and fussy. So I've had people ask me to do that. I charge 100 an hour prorated for whatever tasks people want me to do. So if it takes me 15 minutes, it's 25 bucks. And, you
Okay.
know, so that's a thing that like, could you do it? Sure. Do you want to do it? Maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do want to learn how to do it. We can spend whatever time to do that.
Well, this is valuable because I sell my note template on Etsy, but it's just the PDF template. And so I know a lot of people in this group, and I get messages every single day on my Etsy where people want me to do it for them to build the template in Simple Practice, and I don't have the patience to do that. So all are hearing it. Kari will do it for you. So if
I
you
do it.
want my note template, message
I
her.
do it. I put on my Netflix and I just pound it out and get it done. And yeah, I don't mind doing it. It's kind of fun.
Okay, well, I'll be sending more people your way. So
Happy to help. Yeah, and I didn't even start out doing some of those tasks that people were asking. And it was like, well, I do know how to do that. So
yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah. I won't do everything, but I'll do a lot. If it's in simple practice, I'm pretty open to kind of the way I word it with people when I talk to them is, imagine if I could do anything in simple practice, what would you want me to do? And then let's see if we can figure out how to make that happen. So, or what do you need to know, right? So it's super customized to what people need. I don't have packages for a certain amount of hours because I can't even say how many hours something would take. So to me, that's just too hard. We're all going to be stressed. Me and the other person going to be stressed about that. So, I just do hourly rate, prorated to what time we need. You can have 15 minutes of my time, or you can have unlimited hours, almost.
Within reason.
Reason, totally true. Yeah, and the other thing I should mention that I do that's kind of not listed, and it's listed on there somewhere, is I do like staff training too. So maybe you know how to use all your simple practice stuff, but you're like, I want to bring on a VA, or I want to bring on some staff, or this, whoever wants to brush up on their skills or learn more. That's something that I can be, it's a nice thing to outsource maybe as well.
That's also really valuable because that's another thing that comes up a lot with folks too is like, I just hired a VA, I just hired an admin assistant, and I need to train them on my systems and how to use Simple Practice, but I don't have time. I know there's videos, but like, which ones should they watch? So just outsourcing that to you is way easier and it will get done way better, I think.
I hope so. I think Simple Practice has great videos. They have great documentation. This is a different delivery system. This is coaching. It's just different. And for some people, it is the absolute perfect delivery system. For other people, it's just not how they operate. And that's totally fine. It's good that we have options.
Exactly, to meet everybody's needs. So thank you again for coming and talking with us. I put her website in the comments below, although it's really easy. It's just Dear Kari with a K .com, and you can reach out to her if you need help with Simple Practice or your team needs help with Simple Practice. And it was really great chatting with you.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I've been enjoying your group.
Thank you. I appreciate that too.
Well, thank you for what you do.
It's my pleasure. I always say I don't want to run a group practice anymore, but I am happy to help other people figure it out and do it successfully. So I'm in the right place now.
Sure. See, School of Hard Knocks, you got it all figured out. Now you can help other
Exactly.
people.
Well,
Great.
this was amazing. So much good info in here. And again, if anybody's watching the replay later, just put hashtag replay and we'll get notified and we can come back and make sure we answer any questions you have. And I will see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Kari. Bye.